Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. I'm Bob Matthews. This is your one-stop shop for the latest on the Local 53. Glad you joined us. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of it. Lots to talk about today. Rookie minicamp is now just a couple of days away. It happens on Friday. We'll be talking more about that later in the week, but talking more, at least to start off with today, more about the George Pickens fallout. Fallout for the George Pickens trade to Dallas on Tuesday. You know, if there is one thing the Washington fans love, it is Schadenfreude, especially when it comes to that team down in Dallas. So let's talk a little bit more about it. Talked about it a little bit yesterday, and a lot of the analysis is starting to come out now. Was this a good trade for the Cowboys, or are they panicking because Adam Peters is putting together one hell of a roster here in Washington? So a couple of things to take a look at on this. There is no doubt this has got to improve the Cowboys passing game. I mean, if it doesn't, they're in a hell of a lot of trouble, because if you can put Pickens on the field at the same time with CeeDee Lamb, that's two big, explosive, dangerous receivers. You know, you can't double cover everybody. And that should open up Dallas's offense even more. I mean, he is a deep play threat. He averaged 16.7 yards per catch the last two seasons. Only NFL player the last three seasons to post 50-plus receptions and 800-plus receiving yards. And he's not even probably in the prime of his career yet. He's only 24 years old. But you know, there is another side to this, and, you know, you might think, you look at the stats and everything, and you look at the history of the Steelers and knowing what to do, especially with receivers and when. And Neil Greenberg of the Washington Post had a great point. He was on with B. Mitch and Finley a little bit earlier today. He was talking about how of the last, and what I'm about to say doesn't include Antonio Brown, but when you look at the last five big-time wide receivers that the Steelers have either let walk or have traded, three of them have absolutely crashed and burned. Now, I'll let you go and see what Greenberg has to say. You can go to his Twitter page, or you can go to the Washington Post website, and he gets more in depth on it. But Mike Tomlin does have a pretty good grasp of his personnel and knowing when guys, you know, are useful and when it's time to get rid of them. Pickens is a bit of a diva, and if things don't go well early, you know, he could be much more of a distraction than he is a help. Now, if Dak Prescott is okay, if he comes back, if he's able to get Pickens the ball enough, then Dallas could be dangerous on offense. But there are only so many snaps out there. You can't forget about CeeDee Lamb either. Be interesting to see how these two coexist there in Dallas. And you could also look at the track record of Jerry Jones. Hey, let's face it, Cowboys have not won a Super Bowl since they had a good coach in GM. Hello, you know, going back to the Jimmy Johnson days. We shall see. All right, talk a little bit about what, you know, the concerns are for this roster as we move towards minicamps and OTAs. Interesting article that I saw on ESPN.com talking about the biggest holes that each team in the league have now that we are through most of free agency, at least, you know, first round of it, and then the draft. Interesting that they picked the linebacker position in Washington to say, okay, this is the one you got to watch, you know, considering the fact that, you know, we have talked so much about running back. You know, again, you look at your starters, hey, everything's fine as long as Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner remain healthy. And, you know, Bobby Wagner is going to be 35 this year. Your backups are Dominique Hampton and Jordan McGee now, as well as Kane Medrano, who they took in the 6th round. So, you know, this is, you know, the linebacker could be, you know, an area of concern again if something happens to Wagner and Louvu. Both of them played the entire year, played all 17 games. You know, Can you count on that same amount of luck? When you look at McGee and Hampton, Hampton literally didn't play a defensive snap last year. McGee only played 15 of them. So, yeah, you know, you have to think that, it would be a concern if one of those guys got hurt. On the other hand, you say, hey, Adam, again, what we always say, Adam Peters and the coaching staff, they know what they're doing, and we're giving them the benefit of the doubt on this. If they think that the guys they've got in the building can handle it, then that's what we're going to roll with. It'll be interesting, though, to see as we get closer to training camp, if there are any June 1st designees, that are cut. It'll be interesting to see if they pick up a veteran linebacker to help out. It is these days that is not all that uncommon. Okay, saw some interesting stuff on Trey Amos as well. And Trey Amos is going to be counted on probably to lock down the corner spot opposite of Marshawn Lattimore. And there was an interesting quote about coming from one of those quote unquote anonymous insiders in the league as to why Amos fell as far as he did to 61. Remember, this is a guy that a lot of people were thinking about as a first-round draft pick. Hell, we talked about it when we looked at defensive backs and said, Amos at 61 or so, his rank was such that you said, yeah, he'll probably be there at the end of the first round. Might be a guy to take a look at if you decide that corner is where you want to spend your first round pick on. Well, he falls to 61, so the Commanders jump on him. Everybody that allegedly knows about this stuff says, yeah, Trey Amos is a guy that can step on the field week 1 and start for you. Apparently, a number of teams discovered some sort of a back injury during the pre-draft process. They said it wasn't a major red flag, but that's why he slipped all the way to 61. Still, again, we give Adam Peters the benefit of the doubt. If he's not overly concerned about it, if the medical staff isn't overly concerned about it, I don't think we have to, because again, he's a guy that they're counting on there to do some damage in the secondary this year. And by damage, I mean that in a positive sense. Don't forget, we want you to send in your comments, post your comments on the page, and let us know what you think about the job we're doing. And if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them. And want to give a shout out to Super Dad 3078, who dropped in on the chat the other day. And so, Super Dad, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And I think we are on the same page with what you said when talking about Jaden Daniels, and I fully agree with you. Again, we mentioned the RG3 scenario, and yeah, that's apples and oranges here. Jaden Daniels, no way, shape, or form anything close to resembling RG3 off the field, and I think you're absolutely right. I think the fact that the front office did him no favors. He had a head coach who made it work, but really wasn't fully on board with him, and you're right. That is the one advantage that Jaden Daniels has, is everybody at Ashburn is on the same page. They're all in. And as we've seen in the offseason, the front office is doing everything it can to give Daniels the tools to make sure that his sophomore year, that not only is there not a sophomore slump, but that he does even better than his rookie year. And that, my friends, is a pretty high bar. All right, we got to get out of here. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button. We are here with you Monday through Friday with the latest on your favorite football team. We will see you again tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.